Hello guys, this is your friend Multiverse Shinobi 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto had the Rinne Sharingan from birth? The Curse of the Crimson Moon. The Killer Hook. Do not skip this in your video visuals suggestion for video, thumbnail, show a dark, shattered hidden leaf v. Yaj. A teenage Naruto stands on top of the Hokage faces, but his eyes aren't blue. They are blood red, with 9 ripples and 9 tomo spinning slowly. The sky behind him is completely crimson. Voiceover narrator, deep, intense tone. We all know the story of Naruto Uzumaki. The boy who smiled through the pain. The boy who wanted to be Hokage. But history is a fragile thing. Alter just one detail, and the savior becomes the ultimate terror. Imagine a world where Naruto wasn't born with the innocent blue eyes of Minato Namikaze. Imagine if, the moment he cried for the first time, his eyelids opened to reveal the ultimate god-like dojutsu, the Rinne Sharingan. An eye that didn't belong to a mortal, but to the goddess Kagaya herself. Leaf Village thought they were sealing a fox. They had no idea they had just given birth to a god. The Night of Terror. Visual suggestion, flashback to the Nine Tails attack. Minato and Kushina are breathing heavily, pinning the Kyuubi down. The sealing jutsu is glowing. The night of Naruto's birth was supposed to be a triumph, but it quickly turned into Konoha's darkest hour. The masked man had unleashed the Kyuubi, and the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, had no choice. To save the village, he had to seal the beast inside his newborn son. As Minato clapped his hands together to perform the Reaper Death Seal, the Shinigami appeared. But something went horribly wrong. The moment the Kyuubi's massive, burning red chakra began rushing into the newborn baby, the seal didn't just lock the beast away. It triggered a dormant, ancient lineage buried deep within the Uzumaki and Senju DNA. Suddenly, a massive shockwave of pure, unfiltered gravity blasted outward from the cradle. Boom. Minato and Kushina were thrown backward. The ground beneath the cradle cracked. Minato. Look at his eyes. Quote. Kushina gasped, her voice trembling with a primal fear that not even the Nine Tails had caused. Minato rushed to the cradle, his heart pounding. The baby had stopped crying. Naruto lay there, staring up at the ceiling. His eyes were no longer blue. They were a deep, hypnotic red, layered with concentric circles and filled with 9 black tomo marks. The Kyuubi inside the seal let out a horrific shriek of pure terror. No, it can't be. Those eyes. How? The mighty Nine Tails, a force of pure nature, immediately curled into a ball inside Naruto's subconscious, completely paralyzed by fear. The hidden god of Konoha. Visual suggestion, young Naruto, around 5 years old, walking through the village wearing a blindfold or a cloth over his eyes. Villagers whispering, looking terrified. Lord Third, Hiruzen Sarutobi, kept the secret of Naruto's eyes under the highest level of classification. An SS rank secret. Anyone who spoke of it would face immediate execution by the Anbu. Why? Because the power was too dangerous. From the age of 3, Naruto could see everything. He didn't just see physical objects. He could see the chakra network of every single person in the village. He could see the lies flowing through the villagers' veins when they looked at him with hatred. To protect the village, and Naruto, the third Hokage forced Naruto to wear a thick, dark seal-infused blindfold. The villagers thought Naruto was just a blind, cursed orphan. They called him a demon. They threw rocks at him. But Naruto didn't care. Because even through the thick fabric of the blindfold, he could see them perfectly. One afternoon, a group of 3 drunk Chunin cornered a 6-year-old Naruto in a dark alleyway. Hey, demon boy, one of them spat, kicking Naruto's stomach. Without your eyes, you're nothing but a blind freak. The Hokage isn't here to save you today. Naruto crashed into the trash cans. His blindfold slipped, falling to the ground. The 3 Chunin stopped dead in their tracks. The air in the alley instantly became heavy, so heavy that the shinobi found it hard to breathe. Naruto slowly stood up, brushing the dirt off his orange shirt. He raised his head. The three crimson Rinne Sharingan eyes, with his third eye faintly glowing beneath a seal on his forehead, spun in unison. "You shouldn't have done that," Naruto said, his voice eerie, calm, and completely devoid of childhood innocence. 5:30 to 7 o'clock, the will of heaven. Before the Chunin could even draw a kunai, Naruto didn't move a muscle. He simply looked at them. Shinra Tensei. Almighty push. Crash. An invisible, catastrophic force erupted from Naruto. The three Chunin were blasted through the alley walls, breaking bones instantly as they crashed into the main street, completely unconscious. The entire alleyway was perfectly flattened into a crater. Naruto calmly picked up his blindfold, tied it back over his eyes, and walked out into the sunlight as if nothing had happened. From the shadows, an Anbu tracker with a wolf mask watched in absolute horror. He immediately vanished to report to the one man who had been waiting for this power, Danzo Shimura. Ending script, YouTube retention outro. Voiceover narrator. Naruto hasn't even entered the Ninja Academy yet, and he already commands the power of a god. With Danzo now targeting his eyes, and the Uchiha clan sensing a strange, superior dojutsu in the village, how long can Naruto hide his true power? And what happens when he finally takes off the blindfold at the academy graduation exam? Quote. The god behind the blindfold. The teaser hook. Visual suggestion for video thumbnail show Sasuke Uchiha looking completely terrified, bleeding from his forehead, while a 12-year-old Naruto stands calmly in front of him, floating a few inches off the ground. The text on the screen reads, S-rank secret revealed. Voiceover narrator. To the students at the Hidden Leaf Academy, Naruto Uzumaki was a joke. A blind kid who wore a rag over his eyes, tripped over chairs, and couldn't cast a basic clone jutsu. They laughed at him. Sasuke Uchiha ignored him. But they didn't know the truth. The blindfold wasn't there because Naruto couldn't see. It was there to protect the entire village from the sheer terror of his gaze. But secrets can't stay buried forever. And on the day of the Genin graduation exam, the blindfold finally comes off. The shadow of Root. Visual suggestion, Danzo Shimura sitting in a dark room, surrounded by Root Anbu. He is looking at a scroll containing a drawing of the Rinne Sharingan. Following the incident in the alleyway where Naruto flattened three Chunin with a single glance, Danzo Shimura became obsessed. The leader of Root knew that whoever controlled Naruto's eyes would control the shinobi world. Deep within the foundations of Konoha, Danzo barked orders to his masked assassins. The third Hokage is soft. He treats the boy like a stray dog. Bring the Uzumaki boy to me. We will strip away his emotions and turn him into the ultimate weapon of Root. Quote. 4 elite Root Anbu vanished into the night. Meanwhile, Naruto sat on the roof of his apartment, eating ramen under the starlight. Even with the heavy seal cloth covering his eyes, he could see the 4 dark chakra signatures approaching him from different angles. They were moving at high speed, completely silent. Naruto didn't even stop chewing. The 4 Anbu landed on the roof, drawing their poisoned blades. Naruto Uzumaki. By order of the Foundation, you are coming with us. Do not resist. Naruto calmly put down his ramen bowl. You guys have really bad timing. I was just enjoying my dinner. Before the Anbu could move, Naruto raised his right hand slightly. Bansho Tenon. Universal pull. A gravitational vortex erupted from his palm. The 4 elite assassins were violently yanked forward through the air, losing control of their bodies. As they flew toward him, Naruto snapped his fingers. A massive shockwave of gravity slammed into their chests, shattering their armor and knocking them out cold instantly. From the shadows, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, stepped out. He looked at the unconscious root ninja, and then at Naruto. You're getting too strong, Naruto. I can't keep Danzo away from you forever. Hiruzen sighed, his voice heavy with worry. Let them come, old man, Naruto replied, his voice chillingly calm. But tell Danzo, if he sends his flies again, I won't just knock them out. I will erase them. 3 o'clock to 5:45, the graduation showdown. Visual suggestion, the academy training field. Sasuke Uchiha stands with a confident smirk, holding a kunai. Naruto stands opposite him, still blindfolded. Iruka-sensei is in the middle. Years passed, and it was finally the day of the Genin exam. Naruto had intentionally kept his grades low, acting clumsy to avoid drawing attention. But today was different. To pass, the students had to engage in a taijutsu spar against the top student of the class, Sasuke Uchiha. The crowd of students gathered around. Sakura and Ino were screaming Sasuke's name. Sasuke stepped into the ring, looking bored. Hey, Iruka-sensei, Sasuke said, crossing his arms. Are you seriously making me fight the blind kid? It's a waste of my time. He can't even see my movements. Quote. Naruto stepped into the ring, his blindfold tied tightly. Don't worry about me, Uchiha. Just try not to blink. Begin. Iruka shouted. Sasuke rushed forward at incredible speed, aiming a swift kick at Naruto's head. He expected an easy knockout. But right before the kick landed, Naruto effortlessly tilted his head back by an inch. The kick missed. Sasuke's eyes widened. He threw a barrage of punches and kicks, flawless Uchiha style. But Naruto moved like water, dodging every single strike with his hands behind his back. It looked like he knew exactly where Sasuke was going to hit before Sasuke even threw the punch. Stop mocking me, Sasuke roared, frustrated. He jumped back, his fingers moving in rapid hand seals. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. A massive wave of scorching flames rushed toward Naruto. The students screamed. Iruka tried to jump in to save Naruto, but he was too late. The fire completely engulfed Naruto. Sasuke smirked, thinking it was over. But as the smoke began to clear, everyone froze. The fire hadn't burned Naruto. In fact, the fire was swirling into a vortex, directly into Naruto's forehead. A small tear had formed in his blindfold, revealing a glimpse of a glowing, blood-red eye beneath it. Naruto was literally absorbing the ninjutsu into his body. 5:45 to 7 o'clock, the Chosen One awakens. Visual suggestion, close up on Naruto's hand reaching up to slowly untie the blindfold. A terrifying aura of purple and red chakra begins to leak out, cracking the ground beneath his feet. Naruto raised his hand and grabbed the knot of his blindfold. You wanted to see my movements, Sasuke. Naruto whispered. He pulled the cloth down. The moment the blindfold fell, a heavy, suffocating pressure dropped onto the entire training field. Several weak students fell to their knees, gasping for air. Even Iruka felt a cold sweat run down his spine. Naruto opened his eyes. The full, unsuppressed Rinne Sharingan gleamed in the sunlight. The 9 tomo marks slowly rotated inside the concentric rings. Sasuke fell back onto the ground, staring up in absolute horror. His Sharingan, which hadn't even awakened yet, was screaming at him from inside his DNA. It was the primal fear of a mortal looking at a god. What kind of monster are you? Sasuke stammered, his body trembling uncontrollably. Naruto looked down at him, his expression completely blank. I am the one who will change this world. And this is just the beginning. Quote. Ending script, YouTube retention outro. Voiceover narrator. The secret is out. The entire village now knows that Naruto Uzumaki possesses a power that completely dwarfs the Uchiha clan. With the graduation exam over, Team 7 is about to be formed. How will Kakashi handle a student who is already stronger than him? And what will Orochimaru do when he hears about the existence of the Crimson Eyes? The Bells of Judgment. 0:100 to 0:45, the teaser hook. Visual suggestion for video thumbnail, show Hatake Kakashi kneeling on one knee, holding his chest and coughing up blood. In front of him, a 12-year-old Naruto is holding the two silver bells, his Rinne Sharingan glowing through the dark. The text reads, Kakashi defeated. Voiceover narrator. After exposing his godlike eyes at the academy, Naruto Uzumaki was no longer looked at as an orphan. He was looked at as a walking weapon of mass destruction. Now, assigned to Team 7 under the legendary copy ninja Hatake Kakashi, it was time for the famous bell test. Kakashi thought he was dealing with standard genin. He thought a simple test of teamwork would suffice. He didn't realize that the boy standing in front of him didn't need teamwork, because he already possessed the power to command life and death itself. 0:45 to 3 o'clock, Team 7 feats new dynamic. Visual suggestion inside the classroom. Sakura is sitting far away from Naruto, looking terrified. Sasuke is staring intensely at Naruto's covered eyes. Naruto put a new, stronger blindfold back on. Naruto sits calmly with his arms crossed. The atmosphere in the classroom was suffocating. Sakura Haruno, who used to ignore Naruto, couldn't even bring herself to look at him. The sheer pressure he had released during the exam still haunted her dreams. Sasuke Uchiha sat in the corner, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. His Uchiha pride had been shattered. Those eyes, they aren't the Sharingan. They are something much higher. I need that power if I want to kill Itachi, Sasuke thought, his mind consumed by envy and fear. Suddenly, the door slid open, and Hatake Kakashi stepped inside. He looked lazily at the trio, but beneath his calm mask, his heart was racing. The third Hokage had personally warned him about Naruto's true identity. Meet me at Training Ground 3, Kakashi said, vanishing in a swirl of leaves. 3 o'clock to 5:30, the bell test. God vs. Copy Ninja. Visual suggestion, Training Ground 3. Kakashi holds up two bells. Sasuke and Sakura hide in the bushes. Naruto stands directly in front of Kakashi, making no move to hide. Your goal is simple, Kakashi explained, pulling out his Ika book. Take these two bells from me before noon. If you don't, you go back to the academy. Quote. Sakura and Sasuke immediately vanished into the bushes to hide. But Naruto stayed exactly where he was, standing calmly with his hands in his pockets, his seal blindfold firmly tied. Aren't you going to hide, Naruto? Kakashi asked, closing his book. His tone was serious now. I don't hide from my prey, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto replied calmly. Kakashi narrowed his eye. In a flash of lightning speed, he appeared directly behind Naruto, a kunai pressed against Naruto's neck. Arrogance will get you killed on the battlefield. But Kakashi's kunai didn't touch flesh. It hit an invisible barrier an inch away from Naruto's skin. Clang. It sounded like steel hitting diamond. What? Exclamation mark. An invisible armor. Kakashi gasped in his mind, trying to pull back. But it was too late. Naruto didn't even turn around. He simply activated the Preta Path ability of his Rinne Sharingan. Kakashi suddenly felt his physical stamina and chakra being violently drained through his kunai. Panicking, Kakashi used a substitution jutsu, swapping places with a log. He appeared 20 yards away, breathing heavily. He absorbed my chakra just by being near me. Naruto slowly raised his hand and reached for his blindfold. Let's play for real. As the blindfold dropped, the sky above the training ground seemed to darken. The 9 tomo marks in Naruto's crimson eyes spun. Naruto extended his left hand toward Kakashi. Bansho Tenon. Universal pull. A massive, irresistible gravitational force gripped Kakashi. The elite Jonin was pulled through the air at bullet speed directly toward Naruto. Kakashi quickly formed hand seals with lightning-fast speed. Lightning blade. Chidori. A brilliant mass of blue electricity crackled in Kakashi's hand. If he was going to be pulled in, he would strike with his deadliest jutsu. Naruto didn't flinch. As Kakashi closed the distance, thrusting the Chidori directly at his chest, Naruto raised his right palm. Shinra Tensei. Almighty push. Boom. The collision of gravity and lightning shattered the ground. The Chidori was completely neutralized, and Kakashi was blasted backward, crashing through 3 massive oak trees before slamming into a boulder. He coughed up blood, his flak jacket torn to shreds. Before Kakashi could even stand, he felt a cold presence beside him. Naruto was standing right there, holding the 2 silver bells in his hand. He had snatched them right off Kakashi's waist mid-blast. 5:30 to 7 o'clock, an unexpected ambush. Visual suggestion. Suddenly, a swarm of black insects floods the training ground, cutting off the sunlight. 2 shadowy figures wearing white masks and dark cloaks land between Naruto and the bleeding Kakashi. Sasuke and Sakura jumped out of the bushes, horrified by Naruto's godlike power, but before anyone could speak, the temperature dropped. The ground beneath them began to rot. Thousands of black, venomous bugs swarmed the area. Out of the trees, 2 high-level root Anbu assassins stepped forward. They weren't standard ninja. They were Danzo's personal elite guards from the Aburame and Yamanaka clans, sent to capture Naruto while he was weakened from fighting a Jonin. Hatake Kakashi is compromised, the Aburame root ninja said, his voice distorted. Naruto Uzumaki. By order of the Hidden Leaf's true defense, you are a threat to yourself and the village. Your eyes belong to Root. Quote. Kakashi tried to stand up, his vision blurry. Stop. They are Danzo's men. Naruto. Run. Naruto looked at the 2 elite assassins. He didn't put his blindfold back on. Instead, his third eye, a faint vertical slit on his forehead beneath his bangs, began to glow with an ominous, otherworldly pure PLE chakra. You think a few bugs can trap a god? Naruto whispered. The air began to vibrate. The real terror of the Rinne Sharingan was about to be unleashed. Ending script, YouTube retention outro. Voiceover narrator. Naruto has completely humbled a legendary Jonin like Kakashi, but now Danzo has sent his most lethal assassins to rip the Rinne Sharingan from his skull. Will Naruto show mercy to his fellow Leaf Shinobi, or will he make an example out of Root? And what terrifying new ability is about to awaken from his third eye? The Wrath of the Crimson Emperor. 0:100 to 0:45, the teaser hook. Visual suggestion for video, thumbnail, show a giant, terrifying multi-headed phantom hound with glowing red Rinnegan eyes towering over the trees of Konoha. Below it, Naruto stands with his arms crossed, while Danzo's elite assassins are frozen in fear. The text reads, The demon awakens. Voiceover narrator. Danzo Shimura made the biggest mistake of his life. He thought Naruto Uzumaki was just a child with a powerful dojutsu. He thought sending his elite root assassins would be enough to harvest the ultimate eye. But when you corner a god, you don't get a weapon. You get an executioner. For the first time since his birth, Naruto is about to unleash the forbidden paths of the Rinne Sharingan. And the Hidden Leaf Village will finally realize that the true monster isn't the fox inside him, it's the boy himself. Quote. 0:45 to 3:15, The Ashes of Root. Visual suggestion, the Aburame root ninja commands a massive wave of black insects to swallow Naruto whole. Naruto stands completely still as the bugs cover him like a dome. Die for the sake of Konoha. The Aburame ninja roared, sending millions of Rinkaichu, nano-sized venomous insects, to completely consume Naruto's chakra and flesh. The black wave crashed over Naruto, burying him under a mountain of crawling death. Sakura screamed in horror, and Sasuke stepped back, his heart pounding. Even Kakashi, weakened on the ground, reached out in desperation. Naruto. But inside the swarm, Naruto's eyes didn't even blink. He raised 2 fingers. Asura path. Mechanical modification. Suddenly, a metallic, robotic armor materialized over Naruto's right arm, opening up into a cluster of high-tech cannon barrels pulsing with blinding purple chakra. Before the bugs could touch his skin, an immense thermal explosion detonated from Naruto's body. Boom! A shockwave of pure chakra fire incinerated every single insect instantly, turning them into ash. The sky cleared in a fraction of a second. Through the smoke, the 2 root ninjas saw Naruto standing completely unharmed, his mechanical arm smoking. Monster! The Yamanaka ninja stammered, his fingers trembling as he tried to form the mind transfer jutsu seal. I need to take over his mind, now. Too slow. Naruto's voice echoed, not from in front of them, but from directly behind them. 3:15 to 5:45, the human path. Reaping souls. Visual suggestion, Naruto appears behind the Yamanaka ninja, placing his bare hand directly onto the ninja's head. The ninja's eyes go completely blank as a translucent blue soul begins to be ripped out of his mouth. Before the Yamanaka ninja could process Naruto's speed, Naruto's hand slammed onto his skull. Human path. Soul extraction. A horrific scream tore through the training ground, but it didn't come from the ninja's mouth, it came from his very soul. Sasuke and Sakura watched in absolute paralysis as a glowing, spectral image of the root ninja was forcefully dragged out of his physical body by Naruto's hand. As the soul passed through Naruto's fingers, all the secret memories, hidden bases, and assassination plots of Danzo Shimura flooded directly into Naruto's brain. Naruto now knew everything. With a cold flick of his wrist, Naruto ripped the soul completely out. The Yamanaka ninja's lifeless body dropped to the ground like a puppet with its strings cut. Dead instantly. The remaining Aburame ninja backed away, his face pale beneath his mask. You just killed a leaf shinobi. You are a traitor. A traitor. Naruto looked at him, his Rinne Sharingan spinning with an icy, murderous intent. I am the law of this village. You came to steal my sight. I am simply taking your life as payment. Quote. Naruto clapped his hands together. Animal path. Poof. A massive cloud of black smoke erupted. Out of the smoke stepped a colossal, multi-headed chimera hound, its eyes bearing the exact same concentric rings as Naruto. The beast let out a roar that shook the entire Hokage monument in the distance. Eat him, Naruto commanded coldly. The giant beast lunged forward, swallowing the second root assassin whole in a single bite, leaving nothing behind but cracked earth. 5:45 to 7 o'clock, the ultimatum to the Hokage. Visual suggestion, Lord 3rd, Hiruzen Sarutobi, and 3 Anbu squads land on the scene, looking horrified at the destruction. Naruto stands in the center of the crater, calmly wiping a drop of dust off his collar. Within seconds, the massive chakra spikes brought the 3rd Hokage himself, alongside a dozen elite Anbu. Hiruzen landed in the crater, his eyes widening as he saw the dead root ninja and the colossal summon disappearing into smoke. Naruto. What have you done? Hiruzen raised his voice, his heart heavy with grief and fear. Kakashi managed to stand up, leaning against a tree. Lord 3rd. Danzo's men tried to assassinate Naruto mid-test. He was only defending himself. Hiruzen looked at Naruto, looking for any sign of remorse or fear in the 12-year-old boy. But there was none. Naruto slowly tied his dark blindfold back over his eyes, hiding the godlike dojutsu once more. Old man, Naruto said, his voice flat, completely cutting through the tension. Go tell Danzo that his secrets belong to me now. If I see another one of his masks in my shadow, I won't just kill his subordinates. I will tear down the entire foundation stone by stone. Do we have an understanding? Without waiting for the Hokage's answer, Naruto turned his back on the leader of the village and calmly walked away. Sasuke Uchiha stood in the shadows, his body shivering. He didn't see a classmate anymore. He saw a deity. And for the first time, Sasuke realized that if he wanted power, he shouldn't look to Itachi. He needed to follow Naruto. Ending script, YouTube retention outro. Voiceover narrator. Naruto has declared open war against Danzo and the shadows of Konoha. With Team 7 officially passed, their first official mission is about to begin, the Land of Waves. How will the rogue demon Zabuza Momochi and the ice-style user Haku survive against a Naruto who commands the 6 paths of a god? And will Sasuke beg Naruto to teach him the secrets of absolute power? The Demon of the Mist vs. The God of the Leaf. 0:100 to 0:45, the teaser hook. Visual suggestion, Zabuza Momochi standing in the thick mist with his executioner's blade. Suddenly, a massive gravitational ripple tears the mist apart. Naruto stands in the center of the bridge, his Rinne Sharingan glowing. The text reads, Zabuza's final mistake. Voiceover narrator. Team 7 is now on their way to the Land of Waves, but they aren't carrying a normal genin. They are escorting a god. When the legendary Demon of the Mist, Zabuza Momochi appears, he expects an easy kill. He expects the Hidden Leaf's finest ninja to tremble in fear. But Zabuza is about to face something that no ninja in the history of the Hidden Mist has ever encountered. Today, the Demon of the Mist finds out what it feels like to be hunted by a deity. 0:45 to 3 o'clock, the arrival of the demon. Visual suggestion, Team 7 walking down the road. Suddenly, the air becomes heavy and wet. Zabuza appears, standing on a sword stuck in a tree. The mission was simple. Protect the bridge builder, Tazuna. But as they entered the Land of Waves, the air shifted. A suffocating, bloodthirsty killing intent washed over the forest. A killing intent so thick it made Sakura faint. Zabuza Momochi landed in the center of the road, his executioner's blade resting on his shoulder. Kakashi Hatake. The copy ninja. I'll enjoy tearing your team apart. Sasuke stepped forward, his body shaking but his eyes determined. He was about to draw his kunai, but a hand landed on his shoulder. Move aside, Sasuke, Naruto said, his voice calm. This isn't a ninja battle. This is a waste of my time. Zabuza laughed. A blind kid. You think you can stop me with a blindfold? Naruto didn't answer. He simply reached up and untied the blindfold. The moment the Rinne Sharingan was revealed, the dense mist Zabuza had created instantly vanished, as if the very air itself was afraid of Naruto's gaze. Zabuza's grin disappeared. His sword felt heavier. A primal fear surged through his veins, the same fear the Nine Tails had felt at Naruto's birth. 3 o'clock to 5:45, the executioner's end. Visual suggestion, Zabuza charges at Naruto, swinging his massive blade. Naruto stands still. As the blade is about to hit, Naruto raises his hand. Zabuza, desperate to maintain his composure, roared and charged, swinging the executioner's blade with enough force to cleave a boulder in half. Die. Naruto didn't even move his feet. Shinra Tensei. Crack. The massive blade shattered into 1,000 pieces upon impact with the invisible gravity shield. Zabuza was sent flying backward, crashing into the water with such force that a mini tsunami erupted. Zabuza climbed out of the water, blood dripping from his mouth. What is this power? It's not chakra. It's the gravity of the heavens itself. Naruto walked across the water as if it were solid ground. He didn't even bother to use a jutsu. He simply walked toward the legendary assassin. Haku, help me! Zabuza screamed. Haku appeared in a blur of ice mirrors, launching thousands of needles at Naruto. Naruto didn't even acknowledge them. As the needles neared him, they simply disintegrated into thin air. Diva Path. Shibaku Tensei. Planetary devastation. Naruto raised his hand toward the sky. A small, black sphere of intense gravitational energy floated upward. Look up, Naruto whispered. The ground beneath Zabuza and Haku began to crack, massive chunks of earth and stone ripped from the ground, swirling upward into the sky, pulled by the black orb. Zabuza and Haku were lifted into the air, completely helpless, pinned by the crushing gravitational force. 5:45 to 7 o'clock, the shattered morale. Visual suggestion, Kakashi and Sasuke watching from the sidelines, looking at the floating sphere of rocks with Zabuza and Haku trapped inside. They look like mere ants compared to Naruto's power. This is impossible, Kakashi whispered, his Sharingan eye wide. He's not even a genin yet. He's a natural disaster. Naruto stopped the gravity. The sphere of rocks exploded, and Zabuza and Haku fell to the ground, unconscious and broken. Naruto stood over them, his eyes glowing with that cold, terrifying red. He didn't kill them. He wanted to send a message. Go back to Gato, Naruto told the broken Zabuza, who was barely conscious. Tell him that the land of waves belongs to me now. If he hires anyone else, I won't just destroy his business. I will erase his entire island from the map. Zabuza scrambled to crawl away, his legendary pride completely destroyed. Sasuke walked up to Naruto, his eyes burning with a mix of fear and desperate ambition. Naruto, that power. Teach it to me. I don't care what the price is. Naruto turned to look at Sasuke. For a split second, the Rinne Sharingan pulsed. Power has a price, Sasuke. Are you ready to lose everything you are to become a god? Quote. Ending script, YouTube retention outro. Voiceover narrator. Naruto has claimed the land of waves as his own territory, and Sasuke is now begging for his tutelage. But with Zabuza defeated, the true mastermind, Gato, is about to bring an army of hundreds to the bridge. Can Naruto face an entire army alone, or is he about to awaken the most dangerous path of all? One against an army, the grand finale of part -1. 0:100 to 0:45, the ultimate climax hook. Visual suggestion for video thumbnail, a massive army of over 300 armored mercenaries and rogue ninja standing on the misty bridge. Opposite them, a single 12-year-old Naruto stands completely alone, his arms crossed, floating 3 feet above the ground. The text in bold reads, 1 vs 300. The slaughter. Voiceover narrator. A normal ninja uses stealth. A normal ninja uses tactics. But when you possess the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths, strategy becomes irrelevant. Gato thought he could conquer the land of waves with numbers. He brought an army of 300 ruthless killers to the Great Naruto Bridge. He thought Team 7 would run. He didn't realize that for Naruto Uzumaki, 300 men isn't an army, it's just a live demonstration of his wrath. Get ready, because the blindfold is off, and the battlefield is about to turn into a graveyard. 0:45 to 3:30, the army on the bridge. Visual suggestion, Gato standing behind his massive army of thugs, laughing arrogantly. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura stand back, completely shocked by the sheer number of enemies. The mist on the Great Naruto Bridge had completely cleared, replaced by the heavy, thumping footsteps of hundreds of men. Gato stepped forward, a disgusting smirk on his face. Look at you miserable leaf ninja, Gato sneered, pointing his cane at them. Zabuza was a weakling. I brought the finest mercenaries from all over the underground world. Kill the bridge builder. Kill the ninja. Leave no one alive. The army roared, drawing swords, axes, and spears. Kakashi immediately uncovered his Sharingan, his face pale. Sasuke. Sakura, protect Tazuna. There are too many of them, we need to fall back and. No need, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto interrupted. Naruto stepped past Kakashi. He wasn't wearing his blindfold. His blood-red Rinne Sharingan gleamed under the daylight, the 9 tomo marks spinning with absolute precision. Naruto, are you insane? Sakura cried out. There are hundreds of them. Sasuke didn't say a word. He just watched, his eyes wide with a mix of awe and terror. He wanted to see exactly how a god handles an army. Naruto walked forward until he was just 20 yards away from the charging horde. He stopped. He closed his eyes for a brief second, inhaling the ocean breeze, and then opened them. Naraka Path. The King of Hell. 3:30 to 5:45, The Divine Slaughter. Visual suggestion, a massive, terrifying spectral head of the King of Hell rises from the ground behind Naruto, surrounded by purple flames. The mercenaries freeze in their tracks, paralyzed by sheer horror. The ground split open. A colossal, demonic purple head with the Rinnegan pattern in its eyes rose behind Naruto. The mercenaries at the front row stopped dead in their tracks, their weapons slipping from their hands. What kind of jutsu is that? One of the rogue ninjas screamed. Naruto didn't even give them time to think. He extended both his hands outwards. Tengai Shinsei. Heavenly obstacle, divine star. The sky above the land of waves suddenly turned completely pitch black. The clouds parted away, but it wasn't the sun shining through. It was a colossal, mountain-sized meteor, burning with friction, ripping through the atmosphere directly toward the bridge. A meteor. He summoned a meteor. Kakashi screamed, completely losing his Jonin composure. He grabbed Sakura and Sasuke, jumping back as far as his legs could take him. Gado's army broke out into absolute chaos. Men trampled over each other, trying to run off the bridge, crying and begging for mercy. But there was no mercy. Before the meteor could completely crush the bridge, Naruto stopped it midair using pure gravitational pull, holding the mountain-sized rock just a few hundred feet above their heads. The sheer wind pressure from the floating rock flattened half the army to their knees. Naruto looked at the terrified, weeping mercenaries. Drop your weapons and kneel before me. Naruto's voice echoed across the entire ocean, sounding like thunder. Or I will let this stone drop, and erase your existence from history. Within a single second, all 300 mercenaries dropped their swords, falling to their faces, bowing to a 12-year-old boy. Gado fell to his knees, wetting his pants, staring at Naruto like he was looking at death itself. Naruto walked up to Gado, his mechanical Asura arm transforming into a sharp blade. With a single, swift motion, Gado's head rolled onto the wooden planks of the bridge. The terror of Gado was over. The reign of Naruto had begun. 5:45 to 7 o'clock, the preparation for the Chunin exams. Visual suggestion, Naruto standing at the edge of the finished bridge, looking out toward the horizon. Sasuke stands right behind him, kneeling on one knee, pledging his loyalty. The screen slowly fades to black. The land of waves was saved, not by a heroic ninja, but by an absolute monarch. The bridge was officially named the Great Crimson Bridge, in honor of Naruto's eyes. As Team 7 prepared to return to the Hidden Leaf Village, Kakashi looked at Naruto with deep dread. He knew that the balance of the entire shinobi world had just been shattered. Once they returned, the Chunin exams were going to begin. Rogue nations, the Hidden Sand, and Orochimaru would all gather in Konoha. On their way back, Sasuke walked up beside Naruto, his head lowered. I watched you, Naruto. You didn't even use 10% of your power. I want that strength. I will do whatever you ask. Naruto didn't look at him, but a cold smile played on his lips. The Chunin exams are coming, Sasuke. Orochimaru is coming for your flesh, and Danzo is coming for my eyes. Stay close to me, and I will show you how we slaughter snakes. Part -1 Final YouTube retention outro. Voiceover narrator. And that brings an end to part -1 of this epic saga. Naruto has successfully conquered the land of waves, brought Sasuke to his knees as a follower, and terrified the entire Hidden Leaf leadership. But the real storm is brewing. The Chunin exams are about to begin, and Gaara of the desert, alongside the legendary Sen and Orochimaru, are waiting in the shadows. What happens when Orochimaru tries to put a curse mark on a boy who possesses the eyes of a god? If you want part 2, the Chunin exams arc, immediately, let's blow up the YouTube algorithm. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment part 2 down below. Let's hit 7,000 likes for the next massive drop.